welcome people. It is I, Cribbus136. Sorry, I'm a little low in my chair. Ugh. I just started the stream up like 27 seconds ago, 30 seconds ago, and then I swore immediately, which has a problem with YouTube. So I decided, I had caught myself. I was like, I'll restart it real quick. So yesterday, I guess, there was an update. It didn't post to DotA itself. It didn't like show me there was an update till today. Not that it matters, just a factual statement. So it's not a very large patch, meaning there's some hero fixes and stuff, and some fixes. Most of the fixes are bugs. So I'm going to only talk about the ones that are changes rather than like fixes, okay? Because crashes are just good, right? I'm going to dive right in because I don't want to spend too much time on this. So Force Staff and anything that's like Force Staff can no longer be used on these targets. That means Lark's Pounce, Puck Dream Coil, Time Zone. This is great, right? This is a big buff to Slark, which I've always wanted. I hate how you can be Force Staff during it to break, right, the Pounce. It just kind of like made it so it was pointless. So I'm really glad to see that change. That's like a sleeper change is going to happen. A lot of people aren't going to see that because they're going to skip over all the fixes. So good. Crashes, mistakes. Weird. Quad Blade wasn't working right, it seems. Apparently there was an issue where something was doing a lot of like small issues. Yep, Scotty's slow value is being inverted. Weird. There's lots of things that were not working the way they were supposed to work. I don't want to talk about most of them. Yep, all the other ones are fixes. Okay. Only item changed. They nerfed Eternal Shroud again. They had nerfed its cost. Now they're hitting it for match resistance because they realize it's still probably too strong. It's picked up too often. So now I think that it's going to not be picked up as much. Abaddon. This is the special facet. It's the extra shield, like the supporty Abaddon. They lowered it in general. 10, 15, 20, 25. Yeah. So a really big nerf to the shield because it was probably too good. And they decreased the damage of the amount down by 15%, so a lot weaker. Curse of Avernus still gives attack speed, right? But it was reduced dramatically, 5, 10, 15, 20, so a really big nerf to that as well, nerfing both support and core Abaddon. Okay, that's just like a fix. That's just... The problem was, I guess, it wasn't doing it, where Aghanim after trigger damage wasn't reset. I guess after Miss Coil, it looks like more like a fix, but whatever. The amount of stacks that you give on AA from Chilling Touch went down by 1, which means that overall, that's going to do a lot less damage, since Death Rhyme is the main way that AA is doing a lot of his damage, right? So it's just a huge nerf to Chilling Touch. Arc Warden. Bonus incoming damage when not near his Tempest was reduced by 15%, making it a little harder to kill it. That's kind of a problem. Maybe it was too much. I'm not so sure. I haven't played against Arc Warden since the change, but eh. Axe, I knew was going to get changes. Code of Blood, which is his armor, now has to scale up. He was giving 1 armor no matter what, 2 times if he had ulted them instead. So now that armor amount starts lower, which is going to give Axe a lot less armor across the game, just because now if he gets a kill, instead of getting 1 armor flat, he's going to get 0.4 if he's before 6, you know what I mean? That's going to really dramatically reduce the amount of armor he gets. One-man army, which is the one where he gets strength. They're both Code of Blood, but they've made a mistake on the attachment here. The strength increase was reduced from 60 to 50% of Axe's armor, so he's just much less like solo tanky. Just some talent changes. They're little tiny nerfs. Smoldering Resin, which is the You know, damage over time doesn't work on wards or couriers. It did, I guess, which was obviously a mistake. It should never have worked on wards. Stoked, which is... I don't know what Stoked even does because it's not here, but it's now scales with Flaming Lasso. So Spell Amp, instead of starting at 8, has to scale up, and the movement speed has to scale up. So it's a nerf overall. And Sticky doesn't give any vision at all. Huge nerfs to Batrider in general. Shen. Creep health increased from 200 plus 80 to 220 plus 80 per level. So it's 20, basically. 20 more health whenever he does a convert, right? Time to tankier, minor. This is not really a change. Frozen Expanse now tied to Freezing Field instead of Arcane Aura. Frozen Expanse cast range bonus rescaled to be better earlier. Frozen Expanse AoE was rescaled to be worse early, but ends up scaling to the same because now it's tied to ult. So, and now the AoE bonus only applies to Crystal Maiden. So they're nerfs overall, it looks like. Thorny Thicket Facet no longer increases Spell Amp. That's a big nerf to that facet. The Big Silence movement speed slow was increased by 5% at all levels. That was probably needed. It wasn't too big of a slow, so now it's actually getting competitive. Spirit Collector now triggers from heroes' deaths globally instead of in a 2,000 radius. Again, this is Witchcraft, not Spirit Collector, so it's so hard when it's not the same. That's okay. It just gives her more spirits to use for Spirit Collector. That's really nice. Kinetic Field comes up a lot faster now. They did Fence, of course. Oh, Fence, I'm sorry. Yeah. Kinetic Fence, I read it wrong. It looked like Fence, I was a little bit confused. Kinetic Fence formation was reduced substantially, so it comes up a lot faster. And Glimpse can now be used on Lone Druid Spirit Bearer. I guess it couldn't, I didn't know that. So you could send it back, which is a really big buff disruptor. Alright, here's the Corrosive Dragon. The damage per second was reduced by 5 at all levels. The Fire Dragon's Cleave was increased by 5 at all levels. So basically, they weakened the Poison Dragon and buffed the Fire Dragon. So green and red. It's good. Probably needed. The DOT here is definitely needed to be nerfed. Stepping Stones. Ending Rolling Boulder creates a Stone Remnant in front of our Spirit. That's really nice. Stone Remnant mana cost was reduced from 15 to 0. Ooh. That's really nice. He has mana problems sometimes. Move speed is attack speed. What is momentum? That's Astral Spirit. I hate when they have the wrong thing over here. Move speed is attack speed from 20 to 30%. So basically just more attack speed with that particular thing. Nature's Attendance lasts 1 more second at all levels. That's pretty strong. Afterburner, Rocket Barrage, movement speed only increased by hitting heroes. So he's not always faster. He's faster when he's hitting someone. That's a nerf for Gyrocopter for sure. But I needed one. Huskar got 1 base armor. Ugh. Max attack speed was increased from Berserker's Blood. 10 at all levels. So Huskar's definitely going to be coming back hard there because the attack speed matters a lot. Jug, lots of changes. See, Jug looked good, so I'm not surprised. Bonus damage reduced on Omni Slash by 5 at all levels. Damage per tick on Blade Fury was decreased by 5 at all levels. Mana cost for Swift Slash went up. Cast range went down. Blade Form, which is his... that's not Blade Form. It's the one where he gets agility and stuff for not being hit recently. Linger duration was reduced from 3 to 2, so he doesn't get it as long when he gets hit. Agi per stack was reduced by 1%, so he gets less agility for that as well. And nerf to the Lifesteal Talent. I don't think this will take Jug out of the meta, but definitely is a weakening, making him more fair with other heroes. Stone Hall Plate, damage to barrier reduced by 50%. No longer grants barrier from damaging illusions. So one of the options for Legion gave a damage barrier, just weaker now. Aghanim Shard radius increased. Aghanim Shard radius increased during duel, reduced from 250 to 200. Apparently Ag Shard let this be really big, and now it's not quite as big. Aghanim Scepter cooldown reduced from minus 20 seconds to minus 10. So duel won't be, instead of going down to 30 seconds at max level, it'll go down to 40. So that's definitely a big nerf. Chronoptic Nourishment, which is the ability that allows him to get mana when he right-clicks attached to one of his facets, gets a nerf for its mana regen on creeps. So it makes it harder for Leshrac to keep mana in outside of a team fight. The facet that gives him his super rage, the magic resistance went up by 10, and the stash resistance went up by 10 too. Really strong, really good change. Sorry, making sure I got everything under control over here. Lena, level 25 talent, which was 150% crit on targets affected by Dragon Slave, is 150% crit on targets affected by spells in general. Much better. Significantly better. Big difference. Big difference. Just affects the ability at 25 to do a lot of damage. Entangling Claws in bear form cooldown reduction was increased. So Unbearable will allow Entangling Claws to be more often for a Lone Druid in bear form, and the chance increased. So that's really annoying. So Lone Druid is going to Entangling Claw you for the rest of your life. Magnus Reverse Polarity. Sorry. The facet, that allows you to push people away went up by 100 range of what it hits. And the push distance went up by 150, pushing people further away. And the cooldown went down by 20, allowing you to do it more often. I still don't know under what context you really want this, but whatever. Meepo is 10 slower. Good. Fuck Meepo. Solar Flare, which is it's the opposite of Moonlight Shadow. You take one or the other. The duration increased by 4 seconds, which is really strong. Morphling, Waveform. The mana cost was reduced by 15. Now attacks all targets it goes through with 50% of Morphling's attack damage by default. Does not apply on hit effects at all, though. And they changed the talent that did that 50% waveform. So here we go. They front loaded some of his 20 talent to him. So it used to just be waveform as waveform. Now waveform does 50% of the damage, which is what this talent did. They put it over here, but you still have to wait for the on-hit effects, which it would have done anyway. So Morphling is stronger now because Morphling can wave through you and hit you early level. It's going to do more damage. Ironwood, Treant Health, that's the one that gives him Super Treants. Increased dramatically, 200 at all levels. Its max damage also went up by 8, all the way up to 20. So it does a lot more damage. Damage increased on Sprout by 10, 20, 30, 40. The one that gives Necros bigger AoE range it gives him 10 less range when that happens, so he's not quite hitting everything. Night Stalker lost 0.5 health regen. Hammer of Purity got a slight damage buff, 5 at all levels. Bonus base damage was rescaled to be 5 less, but going to 10 more. So it's going to scale better as well. Odie got an armor nerf, good. Pango's double jump, it's his shield crash that goes whoop whoop. The maximum damage is increased by 20%, maximum barrier increased by 20%, and shield crash as a base ability, its damage was increased by 10 at all levels. That might bring Pango back, I think. I'm not so sure. I still think the nerf to his Q was too much, but he's starting to look tempting. Methodical, which is what I took. Stealthy Dagger counts as 2 attacks towards coup de grace. Ooh. It doesn't specify towards creeps or heroes, because that's very interesting, because that means that for a creep, when you're farming, throwing a dagger, your next hit would crit immediately. You know what I mean? It would because it's every 3 hits, I believe. So that's really cool, actually. That's very tempting, just in general. Fresh meat, facet bonus, strength per tick reduced by 2 at all levels. That's really a big nerf. Flare hooks, meat hook distances damage is increased by 2 up to 5, so more damage. I don't know how that'll change things. Dust Devil Sandstorm no longer gets destroyed left by Sand King and keeps following him if he leaves it. Interesting, that's a big buff. Just for the damage part. So that's the one that doesn't put you in biz. Shackles does less damage, 5, 10, 15, 20 less damage. Foul Play cooldown was increased by 30 so that he can't come back all the time, making it a bigger deal when it's wasted. Barracuda, ooh, movement speed was increased by 2%, early basically. Health gain was also increased early. That's really nice, actually. I felt fine when I played a Slark, but just getting a nice early game buff there I think will be a really big benefit to the lane. You know what I mean? Because you start with this number. So now when you're not seen, you get an extra 2% movement speed that you didn't get before. And you get 2 health regen when you're not seen. That's a big deal. Base damage on Snapfire went up. Gross. Base damage increase on Little Shredder by 5 at all levels. Gross. The Forsaken, which is one of the facets. Desolate damage when non-hero units are nearby increased by 10%. I mean, that's still a nice buff. Base mana regen was reduced on Storm by 0.4. That's awful. Shock Collar. Enemy overload duration decreased from 6 to 5. I don't know what Shock Collar does, but whatever. Sven got a base strength increase of 4. That actually makes that facet that makes your strength your part of your damage actually more tempting because it actually takes less levels and stats to counterbalance where you're doing more damage. And if you choose not to go that facet, you're just stronger anyway, right? More health and all that. And the God Strength increased by 10% at all levels. I really like this, actually. It's a really big buff. I did play Sven and he felt okay, but like I would really like to see, you know, more to him, and this is definitely what I wanted. This is like really cool. Techies got his health regen multiplied by 4. Fuck Techies. TA. Shield per instance decreased by 10 at all levels. Just means that she'll waste the refractions more often. Range reduced on Cyblades dramatically early and a little bit late. 200, 150, 150. Meld damage decreased by 10, 15, 20, 25. That's a really big, those are big nerfs to TA. Inferno must be mad. Almost done. Terrorblade. Soul Fragment Conjure Image current HP cost reduced from 20 to 15%. That makes sense. It probably cost too much. Tinker. Let's see what they tried to fix here. Translocator is the one that allows him to blink randomly. Strong Dispel, that's fine. The direction angle was reduced, so it's more reliable where you're going to blink. Blink distance increased by 50. I mean, that's all fine. Okay, so it used to be that he would get 1% item cooldown for every 4 int. Now it's every 3 int, so just end up getting better cooldown reduction. Whatever, I don't think that's going to matter. Less cost on March, more damage on March. 1, 2, 3, 4. Channel time on Keen Conveyance is just now always its maximum, which is his minimum, but like the best, I mean. Yeah, I mean, Rearm also costs less. It doesn't matter. It's not going to bring Tinker back in, but they might as well try something if they don't want the, you know, endless sights or something. I mean, at least there's a try. Tiny. Mana cost was increased on Avalanche. That's painful to the burst Tiny because you need the mana. Same thing with mana increase on Toss. That sucks too. Insurmountable. Strength to slow resistance reduced from 25 to 20, making him have less slow resistance. That's probably needed. Visage. Familiars now preserve their stone form all cast mode when resummoned. I guess that just helps. It's just like a quality of life. Stone form on Visage. It can be casted even if Visage is silenced or stunned. Will not have an effect if familiars are silenced or stunned. On self and familiars have now immediate cast behavior by default. Can be put into all cast mode to become point targeted. Interesting. That's definitely a benefit to be able to just go stone form if someone's silencing or stunning you. That's really strong. The barrier for Void Spirit on this particular facet was reduced by 10, 15, 10, yeah, 10, 15, 20, 40. Nope, I was wrong. 10, 20, 30, 40. Big difference. Eldritch Summoning, which is the innate ability that allows him to summon imps. The imp explosion was reduced in damage by a lot, actually. It's 0, 5, 15, 20. So, big difference. Dragon Sight, which is the passive. Damage per attack range rescaled. So it's lower earlier. Splinter Blast does less damage by a lot, actually, 20 at all levels. And Wraith King. Aghanim's Spirit Wraith duration was rescaled, so it's higher earlier, but lower later. Cursed Blade, Cursed damage was reduced by 20%. That's a really big nerf. Vampiric Spirit, which is... Okay. The Aghanims on allies is better early, worse late. For the Aghanim Scepter. His own Wraithing is also worse. It's also better early, worse late. His regular, like just passive. Spectral Blade's base damage was reduced at all levels by 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so big winners and losers here. Let's take a look real quick. We got a second. Number 1, Slark, obviously a big winner from the change to 4 staff, whatever. Anybody who buys Eternal Shroud, that really sucks. The item is going to be dying soon. They probably ruined Abaddon. Axe is probably fair now. I don't know how it'll change. Big buff to Disruptor, though minor. Buff to one type of dragon, nerf to another, which will make them fair again. Huskar might be seeing a resurgence. Jug is fair again. Legion's fair. Lena, you might see a late game possibility. Fuck Lone Druid, this looks disgusting. Maybe Lane is probably stronger with a Sprout buff, I'm not sure. I don't know about that. Pango might be coming back sometimes. PA is even stronger. Nerf to Shadow Shaman, which was needed. Snapfire is going to be annoyingly back in the meta. Sven is going to start experiencing some love. TA got nerfed, so she's fair again. Tinker, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? And Wraithing is coming back, probably a little weak out of the patch. So that would be my overall summary. So I'm probably going to be playing Dota after this, but I probably won't be recording because I have to figure out D&D with my friends. But I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you all.